Hey guys, we are in the basement and today, guys, on this episode of John's Arcade, we're gonna do part number 11. Yes, can you believe it? Part number 11 of the Atari Quantum Restoration. And guys, I'm very excited and a bit jazzed to get back to work on the Quantum because, well, the last video kind of ended on a sour note, really. I was a lot defeated at the end of the last video because we did not fix that monitor. We did not fix the 6100, the color XY vector monitor that we need for this Atari Quantum project. And you know what? I've been away from the project for a few days. I've had time to think about it, and I think I have a plan. I think we're gonna be able to fix it in this video, and maybe at the end of the video, we'll be looking at Quantum and maybe playing Quantum. Oh, I hope so. So anyway, guys, enough of that. Let's go to the garage and get to work on the Atari Quantum. All right, guys, we are back in the garage, and yes, I am excited to get back to work on the Quantum because, well, the last video was a little disappointing. You know, we worked so hard all weekend on this game, and, well, we did not fix the Wells Gardner 6100 monitor, so we don't have a good monitor for our Quantum. So let's kind of review, okay? Because like the last video, well, we installed the harness, and that was a big success. It looks great, and we're ready to go, but we need this monitor. So in the last video, we attempted to fix the 6100, and we failed. And what did we do? Well, we rebuilt the deflection board, which is this board right here. We installed a John's Arcade branded Ian Kellogg cap kit for the deflection board, and it didn't fix our problem. The problem we're having is that the spot killer is coming on, okay? And this little red LED, when it is lit on the 6100, basically the monitor is going into shutdown. It's protecting itself, and it's an indicator that there's no video signal coming from the monitor. And by the way, they call it a spot killer because if it didn't shut down and there was no video signal, there would just be like a dot in the middle of the monitor, okay? And that can burn the phosphorus on the CRT. So they put this circuit in here, so if the game's on location and something fails, there's just not a dot in the center of the screen all day long because an operator or an arcade might not notice that the game is down. So they put this little protection circuit in here to shut it down, and that way you don't get the dot in the center of the screen, you don't get the spot, and it's a spot killer, okay? But what causes the spot killer to come on? Well, a bunch of stuff. One of the things is it could be a bad game PCB, okay? So you could actually have a problem with the monitor, or at least you think it's a problem with the monitor, but really the problem is with the game PCB, because if the game PCB is not outputting the video signal the monitor wants, the thing shuts down. It's like, hey, I got no video signal, I'm turning off. The other thing that can cause it is the frame transistors, okay? If they go, it'll turn the spot killer on. And actually, I was reading the FAQ, which again is a really great Bible for these monitors, and just Google 6100 FAQ, you know, frequently asked questions, whatever, it's the FAQ, and this is just a fantastic document. It's amazing. I've read this thing 30 times over. They also make one for the black and white monitors. What is it, the Go5, the Wells Gardner, or there's an Amplifone equivalent for asteroids and all that. But anyway, they make these FAQs for the black and white and the color monitors. This is the 6100 FAQ, and it says right here, symptom, spot killer on and display dead, okay? It says to check the fuses first, which I did. If they're okay, then check the 6 transistors mounted on the chassis as described earlier. If you find at least 2 of the deflection transistors or 1 of the power transistors bad, then that is definitely tripping the spot killer, okay? So, what we discovered in the last video was a couple of things, right? So I did test the frame transistors, and actually I changed those frame transistors like a year or 2 ago at my friend Jay's house, and apparently I didn't do a very good job because they were shorted. The 9.2s, there's 1.6s and 9.2s. The full part number is DN3792 and DN3716. So the 9.2s were all shorted to the frame, okay? So they're metal transistors. There's a little plastic mica between the transistor and the frame that's supposed to basically insulate the the transistor from this so you don't make contact. And apparently I had made contact and these were shorted, okay? And In the last video, though, I really tested this one right here, and I tested this one right here, okay? And those are both the deflection transistors. I did not test the one that was underneath the board, which is right here. Now, the one that's under the board is a power transistor, okay? I did not test it. Why? Well, because it was under the board and it was kind of a pain in the butt. So I've been thinking about this power transistor because obviously I had something wrong with all the 9-2s, but I didn't test one of the 3. And I'm like, well, I gotta test that. It's bugging me. I need to make sure that this power transistor is good, especially because the FAQ says if one of the power transistors is bad, then that is definitely tripping the spot killer. So I came home here, I removed the deflection board, and I put the 9-2 power transistor on my bench here, and I took my meter, and I took my little cheat sheet that I drew up here that shows how to test a transistor, and you put it on diode. And basically we have base, emitter, and collector. Base and emitter are these 2 pins, and collector is the body of the transistor. And you put your meter on diode, and we put our red on base, and our black, our negative on emitter, and we should get out of range, and we do. We put red on base and black on collector, and we should get out of range, OL, we do. And then it says to put red on the emitter and black on the base, and we should get a reading of 0.45 to 0.9, and we don't. Okay, we do not. And then it says, continuing, red on collector, and then black on base, we should get a reading, and we do, 0.5. And then it says here, collector, red on collector, and black on emitter, we should get out of range, and we do. So we passed 4 of the 5 tests, right? We did not pass this one, therefore that transistor is bad, guys. It's bad. The power transistor is bad, which makes sense because when we measured the voltages of the transistors, we were supposed to get 30 volts. We were getting 30 volts on all of the 16s, okay, the NPN transistors, but we were not getting 30 volts on all of the PNPs, which are the 792 transistors. I was getting 8 volts, okay? So the power transistor was not powering the whole thing up. So I have luckily in my bag of parts, I have one single 792 transistor. Now I did test the other ones, okay, which are deflection transistors. Now those ones, when the deflection transistors go bad, they'll take out half of the screen. Okay, so like one of the deflection transistors is for the top vertical, and one transistor is for the bottom vertical, or the left horizontal, or the right horizontal, or a quadrant. And there's actually some troubleshooting charts out there. Like if you have a Tempest that's missing the right side, well then it's one of these specific deflection transformers. If you have a Tempest that's missing the left side or the bottom, then it's one of another transistor. So, but the one that we had go out is a power transistor, which again makes sense. So here's our replacement. Okay, and I do want to double check that the replacement's good because it was in my parts bag here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put red on base and black on emitter, and we should get no reading. Red on base and red on collector, we get no reading. And then red on emitter and black on base, we should get a reading. We do, okay. We did not before on the bad one. And then red on collector and black on base, we get a reading of 0.55. And then red on collector and black on emitter, we should not get a reading, and we don't. So that is a good transistor. So let's go ahead and replace that power transistor. And guys, this could be it. This could be the whole problem right here. And I don't know if I created this problem when I swapped it. Here's what this is what I'm hoping is going on here, okay? I'm hoping that the problem with this monitor all along was the frame transistors, okay? And when I changed them at Jay's house, I screwed up and did them wrong. And basically, that's the problem that's been here all along. I basically just added to the problem. The problem was the transistors. I changed them. I did it wrong. The problem's still the transistors. And maybe I shorted one of them out. And maybe because we shorted these 9-2s to the frame, maybe it took out the power transistor. So that's the hope here. So if this fixes it, great. If not, then we're going to have to go on to other stuff. But this could be one of a couple problems, or it could be the problem. So I'm putting a mica on here, which is an insulator. And I did put some, I bend this. I put some heat sink compound on here. I put some on both sides, okay? And so let's go ahead and put this in. So these ones are a little tricky. I usually put the monitor on its tube. And this only goes in one way, okay? So these two pins here are favoring this side. And if you look at the holes here, you can see clearly where they go. It goes like that. So don't put those in backwards. It's kind of hard to do, honestly, but it's possible. If you really try, you could put it in wrong. So I'm going to carefully put the monitor on its tube and then make our connection back here and just screw it in. I mean, these are not hard to change, but you got to be careful that the legs are not shorted to the frame, and it's easy to do, and obviously I did it, okay? So let me show you guys what's going on here if you could see. So you got to make your connection in there like so. So I'm going to go ahead and make my connection here and then put the 2 screws in. And again, I got to make sure the legs are not touching the frame. And we'll do a continuity test as well to make sure that is the case. But I do hope that this fixes it. So the question here too is, if it does fix it, do we continue with our rebuild? Should we do the HV or should I just leave it alone? You know? All right, I'm tightening this down. Let me just get this one started here. All right, let's go ahead and put the monitor back upright. Okay. All right, we've replaced that transistor. I'm gonna go ahead and get my meter and we're gonna do a continuity test to make sure that it's not shorted. And I'm putting my meter in continuity and one of the leads on the frame, and it's not. Okay, and I guess just for good measure here, we'll test the rest of them. So if I touch frame to frame, it beeps. And so if it beeps when we touch these transistors, then we know they are shorted to the frame, and just for good measure, we'll test these. And this one was shorted before. So these 2 were shorted, I fixed them, and I tested them, so they're still good. So they did not get blown up, at least according to the test, but you know, anything's possible. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this monitor together pretty much how we did it in the last video. I'll kind of spare you guys the repeat stuff, and then I'm gonna put the deflection board on there, make all my connections. I'm gonna bring the monitor in the basement and we're gonna test it in the Tempest and we're gonna cross our fingers. So, all right, let me do this and I'll meet you guys in the basement. All right, guys, we're in the basement. And by the way, it is super annoying to keep going up and down and up and down and up and down with this monitor. So anyway, let's plug it into the Tempest and let's cross our fingers. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. No spot killer. No spot killer, guys. I think we fixed it. Please, please show me. Show me Tempest. Come on. Yes! We fixed it. We fixed it, guys. We fixed it. Ah! Praise Jesus. All right, let's adjust the flyback here. Get a decent picture. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my God, we fixed it. So the convergence is off a little bit. That's okay, we'll fix that on the Quantum. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. We did it. We did it. Okay. See, that's the thing. You walk away from this stuff. I'm telling you, I was thinking about this like all night and all day. I'm like, I didn't test that frame transistor. I didn't test the power transistor. And I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, I know that's it. I know that's it because the 9 2s were shorted and I tested 2 of the 3. I didn't test the third, and the third one is actually the most important because that's the power transistor, and sure enough, it was toast. Oh my God, thank you. So, all right, I'm gonna bring the monitor to the garage. Oh yeah. All right, let's go to the garage. We're gonna hook it up to the Quantum. We're gonna see what happens, guys. I'm super excited. Let's go to the garage. All right, guys, we're back in the garage. The monitor's out here. And yes, I hate bringing that thing up and down, but anyway, what I want to do is this. We're gonna plug the 6100 into this game. Okay, we're gonna do it, guys. I am gonna double check my power though, because I'm a little concerned putting power on this for the first time. And I want to make sure all my connectors are good and right. And I want to check the voltages on this, okay? And actually I want to grab the Quantum pinout. And now we're going to test this not under load, okay? So the 5 volts is going to be maybe a little high because the way the AR-II works, it has a sense circuit, okay? And it senses what's going on out there. You know, is it 5 volts? Do you need more voltage? Is it not 5 volts? Do we leave it the same? So because there's no load, it's going to turn the voltage up a little bit, okay? It's going to be higher than 5. And so as long as we're close to 5 before we put it in the load, like 5.1, 2, or 3 or something, I feel pretty comfortable with that. But if it's like 6 or 7, then forget it. You know, we're gonna have to look at the power supply. But I don't think that's the case because before, when I tested the 5 volts, it was showing as 5.3, which I think is just fine before we put a load on and before the AR-II can do its job. So I'm gonna pull up the Atari Quantum pinout right here on my phone, and I'm just typing Atari Quantum pinout, and it usually comes right up. All right, so here's the pinout right here, if you guys could see this. The A and 1 are ground, B and 2, the second pins are 5 volts, and then the third pins are 22, and then the fourth pin is negative 22. So we're looking for 5 volts and 22 and negative 22. And I'm gonna carefully just come in here and probe the edge connector with the game powered on, and you know, this is DC voltage, relatively low risk for me. I just don't want to, I don't want to short anything when I do this though. And it is like super hot out, man. It is muggy. All right, let's put it on DC here. All right, so let's come in. All right, so I got to carefully do this. I wonder if I can. Just trying to do this without screwing something up. All right. So let's grab ground and 5 volts. There's 5 volts and there's ground. All right, it's 5.3. So this should be 22. Actually, these aren't populated. I don't think this board even uses 5.3. There's no voltage present there. So I'm guessing that this game does not use the 22 volts. Let me look at the pinout again. I'm just being a little cautious here. No, it should be blank, blank, and then 22 and minus 22. And then 10.3 volts DC after the gap. I don't know what to make of that. Why those are missing. Let's try it again. Carefully put this on ground. So this should be 10 volts. That's 13.27. And then this should be 22. All right, I don't have 22 volts. I don't know if that matters. I don't know if that's normal. Our 10 volts is there. So let me do some quick research on this. Hang on. Okay, guys, here's what I found out. Okay, so this power supply outputs 22 volts, okay? And actually not all of the Atari AR audio regulator power supplies output 22 volts. This one does. However, we are not plugged into it, okay? The J10, which is the plug right there, outputs 22 volts. We're not plugged into it. If I look on the PCB at the trace, that should be 22 volts, I can see it goes nowhere, okay? So it's in the harness, but it doesn't go anywhere, okay? This game does not use 22 volts, so we're safe to do this now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug the PCB in, okay? And I'm not gonna lie here, I'm a little on edge about this, okay? We've got solder side, we've got component side, okay? We're in. Now we're gonna plug our monitor in, okay? And we'll make sure this reaches here. This is it, guys. I mean, we've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. And it all comes down to now, okay? So we're plugged in all around. The PCB is plugged in, the monitor is plugged in. The PCB is plugged in, it says component side. The monitor is plugged in. It's on the table here, which is actually really nice. We'll be able to adjust this monitor just great with it out of the game. Okay, so let's do it. Are you guys ready? Are you ready for this? All right, here we go. All right, the lights on the PCB are on. Okay, you can see that back there. Spot killer is on. Well, that's interesting. Why is the spot killer on? Damn it. Spot killer's on. Spot killer is on. We got nothing, guys. All right, let me double check our connections. I did not screw this up. Okay, we got power coming in here. The board is on component side. The AR is plugged in everywhere. The board's lighting up. I should test the 5 volts at the board. Spot killer's on. All right, let me think about this and we'll come back. Okay, so I'm testing the voltage at the board and it's at 5.1. So I put my alligator clips, my leads on the test point there. We're a little bit high, but really, it's fine. All I could think to do right now is to really double check my connections. Unless something, maybe the board, some chips got loose. You know, the board's been in storage for a couple years. All right, I'm gonna disconnect the monitor and I'm gonna double check my connections. I think it's safe to assume the issue we're having right now is a board issue and not a monitor issue. Okay, so now the spot killer's on, but for a different reason. It's because the board potentially is not good. I don't want to bring the monitor back in the basement. It's certainly an option just to double check if something might have happened to this monitor on the way up here. I doubt it though. All right, I'm gonna double check the connections. I'm gonna double check my work. I'm gonna make sure I didn't screw up. But as far as I can tell, we got a good power supply, 5.1 volts, okay? But I'm gonna follow the cable and I'm gonna see where the video signal's coming from, make sure everything's connected, make sure we have continuity, etc. But it doesn't look like there's a lot of variables here. So let me check it out and I'll be back. Okay, guys, I discovered something maybe I don't know. Okay, do you guys remember that connector that I couldn't figure out where it went, and I just said, oh, this is probably for a coin counter for the Irish game. Right here. Well, the form factor of this plug is exactly the same as the one that's missing in this spot right here for the 22 volts. And then I tested the voltage on the PCB here, and there's 15 volt test points. None of them are registering. I don't have any 15 volts. I'm guessing that maybe this board does take 22 volts, okay? And by the time it gets to that test point, maybe it drops it down to 15. I don't know, but it sure seems to me that that plug might be needing to come over here, which doesn't make a lot of sense because the way it's in the harness, it wants to be all the way down there. So I don't know what to make of that. I'm just curious if the 22 volts here, if the 22 volt trace, which is this one here, if it comes over to the 15 volt, no, it probably goes through a bunch of other stuff along the way. So I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the manual, and I want to double check to see if this game is supposed to be getting 22 volts and also how the AR-II is hooked up. So I'm going to come right back here, but I might have made a discovery. I'm not sure. Okay, guys, I went on the internet and I looked at the Quantum manual, and I did some searches looking for people talking about Quantum and 22 volts. And I found threads, and yes, Quantum uses 22 volts, okay? So we're missing a voltage, so that's why it's not working. The 22 volts gets regulated down to 15, and we should be getting 15 volts on the test point. We are not, okay? So I printed out the test, the pinout here, the wiring diagram from the manual. And so P10, it should have a white and a brown and a white, and a red and a green wire, which is 22, minus 22, and 5 volt return. And if I look at the cable back here that I did not plug in, it is all of those colors. It's brown with white, it's white with brown, and it's red with green. So we need to plug that in. And this is what I think. The reason that that one is on the other side is because I need to rotate the power supply 180 degrees. I think I have it in the wrong way. That's why that plug didn't reach, which means I have to kind of rethink my nice, neat wiring scheme here. So I'm going to flip it around, okay? And we're going to try to plug in P10. I guess I'll just do it really quick without you guys. Do you guys want to see me do that? So I'm going to rotate the power supply, and I'm going to try to get everything to line up again. I might have to unscrew the harness and screw it back in. So let me flip it around, let me neaten it up, and I'll come back. All right, guys, I got it all connected, and there's a couple connectors you need to be careful about. And actually, my buddy Servo on the John's Arcade forums told me to look out for P9 and P6 because those are the same plug, and you can mix them up. Joe did label them. I have them in the right spot. If you switch them, you'll put like 22 volts or whatever, 18 volts on the 5 volt line. So what I want to do real quick before we do this again, before we test it again, I want to test my voltages again, make sure everything's okay, make sure we got 5 volts, make sure I have 22 volts now. Let's just make sure everything is working just fine. So I'm going to come through here. I'm being extra cautious here, guys, because I do not want to ruin my PCB, because that would be bad. All right, so I'm going to put my multimeter on DC volts here, and I'm going to test the 5, I'm going to test the 10, and the 22 and minus 22, because now we should have those. So let's come in here. The first one is 5.3, next one is 22, look at that, so we got 22 now, 24.7, that's fine, negative 22, and the next one should be 10, which is coming in at 13, which is fine for those. Okay, so all of our voltages are present. I'm going to leave this a rat's nest right now, and I will neaten this up later. Let's just make sure it works, and then I'll worry about making it look pretty, but it shouldn't be too bad. I can see where things naturally want to go. So let me just kind of get this ground wire out of the way. I'm going to probably put some tape on that so that doesn't short to something. Okay, this is it, guys. Now this is it, and I feel pretty confident here. And if we fix this was kind of textbook, wasn't it? I mean, we basically tested the voltages, and we did our homework and did some research and figured it out. I don't know. Did I fix it? I think I did. I'm crossing my fingers. I don't want to get cocky right now, but let's plug this in. All right, this is it. Are you guys ready? Are you ready to turn this on and see what's going to happen? Okay. Just looking at everything. Is everything in the right spot? And it is. Let's go. We're doing it. Spot killer's on. Son of a... Why is the spot killer on? Son of a gun! I really thought I figured it out. What is going on here? Something smoking? I saw smoke. And is this monitor hosed again? Actually, let me get my multimeter here. Let's just test the voltages. So we're supposed to have 30 volts on these. $25. Okay, those voltages are present now. I could test the B+. I don't think it's the monitor. So the B+ is the orange wire right here. It's 171 volts. It's supposed to be 180. I'm sure it's fine. Service switch. There is a reset button on here. Okay, I don't know what to make of this, guys. I'm going to go through, double check everything again, and I'm going to check my voltages on the board. See if I have that 15 volts. This was not supposed to happen. All right, let's see. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I want to update you on the little adventure I've been on for the past hour. So I've been testing the voltages, okay? So let me kind of back up here and put into words what has happened here because this is not going well, all right? I'm not going to lie. I'm in a bad spot right now, and I need to actually walk away from this and return to this another day. But here's what happened. Okay, so I forgot what we were doing when we cut away, but I went on this crazy tangent checking voltages, blah, 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 okay? So we got the 22 volts hooked up, still had the spot killer on. I was going to investigate, and I did. But here's what happened. I tested the voltages at the board, and I was getting 7.2 volts or something like that, 7.1 over 7 volts, which is like panic time. Like, oh my God, 7 volts, turned the game off right away. I don't know what happened, okay? Something happened where the Atari AR-II decided to pump the voltage up to 7 volts, okay? I turned it off immediately when I discovered it, okay? So it probably had the 7 volts on the board for a good minute. I don't know. So I'm like, all right, well, we gotta, what is going on here, right? And there is an adjustment pot on the AR power supply. And so I said, okay, well, let's see if we can adjust the pot and get that 5 volts into, so I disconnected the edge connector from the board. The board was completely out of the circuit. Like I said, I discovered the 7 volts. I turned it off immediately, okay? I disconnected the edge connector from the game PCB because I don't know if we damaged the PCB. I'm praying that we did not, and it wasn't on there long enough, and I caught it and whatever. So I disconnected the PCB. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm going to adjust the pot on the AR and see if I can really turn it down, and then we'll try it again. So I started testing the voltages again on the edge connector, disconnected from the PCB. But here's what happened. I was a little clumsy with my leads, and I bridged the 5 volts in the ground at the edge connector. When I did that, I blew a cap, like literally blew a cap like a firecracker. I know, it's too bad I wasn't filming this. But I was just testing voltages. It wasn't it was uneventful. It was supposed to be. So I blew a cap on the power supply. Smoke, everything. I'm like, oh crap. So I pulled the power supply out. I replaced the cap. I tested it again. Now I've got 12 volts on the 5 volt line. I did call my friend Ian. And he told me to replace the big transistor in the middle, which I did. Still have 5 volts. I still have 12 volts coming out of the 5 volts, okay? And mind you, this 12 volts is not going to the PCB. It's all disconnected, okay? So I replaced the cap. I replaced the transistor on the power supply. What I'm going to do, and we're not going to do it now, I need to get away from this. So I need to go to bed. I need to think about this, but I'm unhappy right now. So I need to get the power supply working again. I need to fix what I did wrong. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. There's a couple parts I should change on there. There's a tip 32 or something. I have an AR power supply rebuild kit here, so I'll go through it and rebuild it and get the 5 volts working again. And then, well, then we'll see what happens. We got to get the 5 volts back, and then hopefully the 7 volt thing was a fluke at the PCB. I don't know, guys. So I'm taking a break. We'll be back tomorrow or the weekend. I don't know. We're stopping right here, though. I feel defeated. And if I ruin that PCB, I'm going to be really mad. All right, guys, it's the next day, and I've been thinking a lot about this. Actually, I went to bed last night thinking about this. I woke up this morning thinking about this. I thought about it in the car this morning. I have been thinking about this nonstop, okay? And it's good to get away, okay? So I got away, and I kind of came up with a plan, okay? Because I thought to myself, I mean, yes, we had a little bit of a flubber, okay? I blew up the power supply, but it was misbehaving before that happened, okay? The blow up part is just a little sidebar to the story here. So anyway, I'm thinking today, what if that power supply just wasn't right, because I was getting 7 volts at the board. And I'm like, well, I got to rebuild it and blah, blah, blah. That's going to be a pain in the butt. And I just really want to remove variables from the equation, I want to know that the board is still working. I want to know that the power supply is good. And then I started thinking to myself, well, I've got a working power supply. I have a power supply that I know is good, okay? I know that I can come home today and I can remove a variable from this equation. So I came home and I grabbed the power supply out of my Tempest, okay? And it's plugged in right now, okay? Down there, right? And so I decided to test the voltages before I turned it on, okay? So I disconnected the edge connector. I put a ground wire on the ground test point on the power supply. Now, the other power supply didn't have the test points. It was missing them, okay? This one does. The other one just has solder pads, but no actual physical points you can grab onto. So anyway, I put a ground on the power supply right there, okay? And I'm going to tell you guys everything I did, okay? So I put a ground wire on the power supply, and then I had my meter probe loose, okay? And I disconnected the edge connector, and I powered it on, okay? And I tested the voltages, and they're all good. The 5 volts was actually at 5.6, okay, which is higher than the other one was. The other one was 5.3 when it wasn't under a load. So I dialed the voltages down, and I used the pot down there. There is a little pot, which is, by the way, I was attempting to use before when I blew up the AR-II. There's a little pot on the board where you can fine-tune the voltages. I mean, ultimately, the board kind of takes care of itself, but you can kind of fine-tune them before you plug it in using that pot down there, okay? So I fine-tuned the voltages using the pot. I adjusted it to just over 5 volts, okay? And then I decided to leave my ground wire where it is on the power supply, and I put a 5 volt line, test meter line on the PCB right there, okay? So because I wanted to have my meter on while I powered this on for the first time, okay, because I didn't know what was gonna happen. Was the voltage gonna climb again to 7 volts like it did with the other power supply? So I wanted to be there so I could monitor it as I turned it on, okay? So that's what I did. I had the positive lead of the meter on the PCB. I had the negative lead of the meter on the ground on the power supply. And then I plugged it all in and I turned it on. And as I turned it on, I watched this meter like a hawk, okay? And I was ready for it to go up above 5.3, 4, 5, and just turn it off immediately, okay? So this is what I did. So I did all that, and I turned it on, okay? And I watched the meter. All right, look at that. It's at 5.039. And I'm like, okay, that is good. The last time I tried this and tested those voltages, they were at 7, and the spot killer was on, okay? So I saw 5.039 on the meter, and then I said, okay, well, let's look at the monitor. Is the spot killer on? Oh my God, the spot killer is not on. Okay, so then I said, well, this is it. It's time to look at the monitor. Is the game there? Is it? And it is. So, look at that, guys. It's working. It is working. My God, it's working. We did it. So that was it. You can see it looks really good. Actually, in person here, it's a decent monitor. I think this is a really good 6100. Picture's nice and strong. Let me turn the lights off and everything so you guys can really kind of get the full effect. So this is a great monitor. Now the convergence and all that is off, and we're gonna adjust that. I'm not gonna do it in this video. I wanna stop actually right here, okay? Because this is it, guys. I mean, we in this video, we fixed the monitor, and then we got this game working. The board's working, thank God. Now I'm gonna show you guys something up here in the front. So, as soon as I realized it was all working, I coined it up to see if the speakers worked, and the buttons, and the trackball, and all that stuff, and I'll show you what happens here. So if we coin it up, so if you come in here, we can coin it up. See that? So the speakers are working. I verified I was getting sound from the lower one and the upper one, okay? Now the thing I figured out right away is that the millipede harness is not the same as Quantum, okay? Because the buttons were not working and the trackball, as far as I knew, was not working. I couldn't start the game. So I quickly took Joe Majera's harness here and just wired it to the one-player start button just to see if I could get it to work. And it does. You can see it's flashing and I could start the game. So so we're gonna have to use Joe's harness, which is fine, because the millipede one just doesn't work. And if we come up here, it says quantum time, it's counting down, level selection. So the game's starting. You're supposed to circle the starting rack, but right now I don't have the trackball hooked up, so we can't circle anything. So the only thing I hooked up was the one-player button. So I'm gonna have to replace the millipede harness with the reproduction control panel harness, which again is fine. And there goes the game. Look at that. That's some cool sounds, huh? So we're gonna have to do the monitor adjustments though to really get this. And by the way, guys, this is actually a big deal. They have like shaded graphics here. Big, chunky, shaded vector graphics, which was a big deal at the time. I know it doesn't seem like it. So, all right. Oh, I love those sounds. That sounds amazing. So, it sounds really good. There's a little bit of hum from the speaker. Hear that? We're gonna see if we can try to get rid of that. I'm not sure. So anyway, that's it. We're gonna stop right here, okay? Next video, we're gonna just tidy up some loose ends, play the game. I'm gonna have to rebuild that AR. Maybe we do that in the next video, I don't know. But this right here, what we're looking at is where I've been trying to get for the last, well, since the last weekend, since last Friday, and we're here now, and I'm just really excited. The PCB is working. The monitor is working. Well, we got a working power supply, but I need another one, so we're gonna have to rebuild or actually repair the one that I broke and maybe figure out what was wrong with it, why it was pumping the voltage up to 7 volts. I don't know. So, but yes, I'm pretty jazzed. So, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Why don't we go back down to the basement? All right, guys, there you have it. That was part number 11 of the Quantum Restoration. What did you guys think? I'll tell you what I think. Man, am I happy. My God. Oh, my God. I am so relieved. I mean, I've been waiting for this moment forever. I've been waiting to see Quantum, the title screen on that 6100, and we did it in this video, and wow. And you know what? This was an interesting video for me because I feel like I learned some lessons, okay? Because I took some things for granted. And you guys noticed in the video, there was a lot of notes, okay? And as I was editing the video, I felt the need to put those in there because, well, you know, when I was filming the things, I didn't know what was gonna happen later, okay? And when I was editing though, I knew that when I was here, that I was doing something that I should have done because later it was gonna become more obvious. And so I felt the need to put those notes in there because I was kind of cringing a little bit. I'm like, oh, John, right now you should be testing the voltage. You don't know what's going on with the PCB. You should have your meter leads on the PCB at all times, you know, while you're testing because we have so much untested stuff. You know, I got a power supply that is relatively unknown to me. I don't really know the history of it. I haven't proven it to be a good power supply. I have a harness, again, that hasn't proven itself. You know, I got a PCB board that I haven't been able to test or try in over a year or two. So I've got all these variables that are just not proven. And really, the whole time, I should have been monitoring the PCB voltages. I really should have. I should have had the positive and the negative leads just on the 5 volts on the PCB at all times when I was turning that on for the first time. That way, if the voltages were high, which I discovered after the fact, I could have turned it off immediately because really, like today, I was thinking about it before we worked on the game today in the garage. I was thinking the whole time during the day, oh my God, what if I ruined the PCB? What if that 7 volts that was sent to the board ruined the PCB? I am screwed. I am screwed. How am I going to find another Quantum PCB? And if I do find one, it is not going to be even remotely cheap. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying, guys, is don't be a John. Take your time. Be methodical. Be anal. And you know what? I just got careless. I took things for granted. I just assumed that once I got that monitor fixed that I was home free. I really did. I really thought that. I'm like, all right, that's it. The monitor's fixed. We're done. I plugged this in. It's just all gonna work. And that's not what happened, is it? So, and really, you know, I dealt with the AR power supplies before. I rebuilt my Missile Command AR power supply like 5 years ago, and I was so much more methodical when I did that. You know, I remember clearly unplugging the game PCB, testing the 5 volts at the AR, turning it down, making sure it was 5 volts exactly, not 5.3, not 5.6, not 5.2. I turned it down to 5 volts. Then I plugged the game PCB in. Then I put my meters on the game PCB and I turned it on and I monitored the voltages at the board as I turned it on for the first time, because if those voltages were to go up and spike, I was able to turn it off immediately because I could see right there live as it was happening, you know. So that's what I should have done. So, you know what? I learned a lesson, okay? Don't take things for granted and don't just assume stuff. Take your time. So anyway, I'll tell you, I am relieved and I am happy that I did not ruin that PCB. And guys, we're in the home stretch now. So I do need to fix that AR-II though. I don't know what's wrong with it. I blew it up, but it seemed like it had another issue too because it was doing the 7 volts. So I think in the next video, we'll attempt to fix that thing. I'm guessing it's just a couple of parts, right? It's just the 5 volt section that's messed up. I don't know. So we'll fix that. We'll fix what I did wrong with it, and maybe we can find something that was maybe wrong with it that caused the 7 volts. I don't know. But the main thing is that the game's working, the PCB works, the monitor works. We need to adjust the monitor, do the convergence. We need to do the XY adjustments with the game PCB, and we'll do that all in the episode. And next episode, and I'll wire up the control panel properly. We'll put the monitor in, and we'll play us some Quantum. Does that sound fun? It's only been 3 years. Can you believe 3 years I've worked on this stupid game? So, all right, guys, let's do some viewer mail. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, interesting episode, I think. But we landed on our feet, and that's the thing. I was not going to give up. No way. So we can all learn from John. So anyway. All right, the next one, actually the first viewer mail, and if you want to participate in the viewer mail segment, email them to me at blkdog7@gmail.com. That's blackdog7@gmail.com. In the subject line, put viewer mail, otherwise I will not find them. blkdog7@gmail.com, subject line, viewer mail, and really, no email is dumb. Just questions, comments, anything. Just send it my way, blkdog7@gmail.com. All right, Clive, first one here is from Clive. I'm loving retro games as much as you do, so now and again I would switch on the PS4 and check the latest retro stuff. Guess what I found? Pac-Man 256 is now on the PS4. Awesome. I know you're an Xbox dude, but check your Xbox and see. You might have it downloaded too. Have fun. I'm off to play some Pac-Man. Yeah, Clive, actually a few people told me about Pac-Man 256, and I'll tell you, I have played it. Not on the Xbox One, though, on my phone. And actually, I like that game a lot. And it's made by the guys that made Crossy Road. And Crossy Road was kind of a modern reimagining of Frogger. You know, it really was. And I like Crossy Road a lot. And so Pac-Man 256 is that same kind of a thing where they modernly reimagined Pac-Man, but with like an isometric view. And what's cool about it, and why they call it 256, is because, well, level 256 in Pac-Man is the level where the game starts imploding, okay? It starts running out of memory, and you get all these glitches and stuff on the screen. And so this new modern game is basically the glitches are following you. So they kind of embraced the whole glitch thing and made a game around it. And so if you go too slow as you're playing Pac-Man, and by the way, you're advancing through an endless Pac-Man maze, and you're being chased by the glitches. And you have to just keep moving forward so that glitches don't get you. It's very clever. And so I haven't tried it yet in the Xbox One, but I really did like it on my phone, and I actually still have it on my phone. It's probably one of the games I play the most on my phone, so maybe I'll check it out. I wonder if it's on Steam. It'd be fun to maybe stream that on my PC to my Twitch channel. If you guys go to youtube.com/JohnSucksAtVideoGames or even twitch.tv/BLKDOG7, you guys can see me stream and talk about modern gaming. So, yeah, maybe I'll see if it's on Steam. That'd be kind of a fun one to play on Twitch, I think. All right, next one is from Steven, and this is about Firefox, and so we're going to be getting back to the Firefox to some degree. I need to bring it down here. And actually, I want to mention something because you guys might have noticed in the Firefox videos, or in the last Firefox video when we were doing the Dexter, that it wasn't always booting. Okay, the Dexter was not always booting, and I think it might have popped up at least once in the video. And it happened to me a few times after the fact, okay? And it turns out I found a bug in Dexter. So I emailed Warren, and I said, hey, man, and I actually sent him a little video showing him the issue, because I actually saw some, like, little Linux, like, terminal text on the screen, and it was, like, rebooting. And so I sent an email to Warren, I sent him a video, and he's like, wow, that's interesting. It looks like the Dexter is rebooting. And so him and Matt Ownby, I guess, went to work, and they were able to recreate the issue. and they issued a firmware update. And so I haven't installed that yet, but Warren emailed me about it, so I'm going to be installing that in my Dexter. So that's supposed to fix that little boot glitch it was having. You know, once it booted, it was fine, but just every now and then it just would not boot. But anyway, going on here from Steven, and again, we'll revisit that. Hey John, if you really like and want to have Firefox on free play, you should go into the service mode and change the settings like this, okay? And he talks about the free play settings on the soft dips. So find the utility panel inside the top coin door assembly and look for the self-test switch besides the coin counter. All right, so Steven, I did this, okay? And actually, I did an unlisted video about this because I got a couple emails about this telling me that those settings were actually soft settings in the service menu, because I was trying to change the settings with the dip switch settings. And if you guys remember in the video, I'm like, this is ridiculous. The dip switch settings are on the middle board. I had to take the whole stack apart. Well, it turns out you didn't need to do that because you could change all of the settings in the menu. And so I did put it on free play. I did change all the difficulties to how I wanted it, and I was able to do all of that inside the service menu and not even touch the dip switches. And then also, I cleared out the NVRAM, and now that's all working. The thing's saving high scores. Maybe the chip got corrupted, but I was able to reset it in the service menu. So the Firefox is now saving scores, keeping settings, and I have it on free play. So all of that was fixed. I did show that again in an unlisted video. And if you guys want to see those little quick unlisted video updates, you got to follow me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/BLKDOG7. And actually, while we're talking about social media, I do have a Facebook page that Time Runner is helping me run. And Time Runner, of course, is the official cameraman of John's Arcade and also in charge of the street team and also the Facebook page. So if you guys go to actually, it's facebook.com/John's Arcade. You can go on there and you can interact and leave comments. And he's posting all the videos and stuff. And I'm keeping up, trying to monitor it. But you know, I'll try to get more involved in that, is what I'm saying. But really, I'm a Twitter guy. That's the truth. If you guys really want to interact with me on social media, it's Twitter. Twitter.com/BLKDOG7. Going on here, he says, I wonder, has Franz forgotten about your Philips Laserdisc player? Or when did you last contact him? Yeah, I know. I did email Franz, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something, and you know, he's an older guy, and his wife is not well, and it is what it is. If I get it back, I get it back, and I'm not going to put pressure on the guy. I'm really not. And you know what? The Dexter works, and I like it, actually. It's reliable. He goes on. Anyway, I say get another Dexter board for the Dragon's Lair so you can play Dragon's Lair Prototype, Dragon's Lair 2, and Space Ace, even if you get your Philips back, because even if it's fixed, it'll go bad later in life, which is why Gary Vincent and FunSpot doesn't like dealing with broken Laserdisc players now and then, since they first came out. I know, but you gotta understand, FunSpot is a lot different than my basement. You know, Dragon's Lair is turned on for a few hours a week, and at FunSpot, these games are on 12 hours a day. I think that's a big difference, you know. Going on, upright laser games on Craigslist are dirt cheap. He says, if you ever find a Starlight upright or any upright Laserdisc game on Craigslist dirt cheap, you know what I mean. Yes, get another Dexter board for daily use. Otherwise, you're going to deal with the same problem like any other players because of moving parts, even if it's in perfect condition. The good thing about Dexter is it has no moving parts whatsoever. Like Warren said, give it to a museum for occasional use to get your player back. I know, but you know what? There's something fun about the Laserdisc. To me, okay? There's something... It is a badge of honor. I don't know. the fact that I have an original Laserdisc player that is working reliably in my Dragon's Lair, I like that. Okay, I do. I'm not gonna lie. And if I get my Philips player back, I'm putting that in the Firefox. So I am. I'm absolutely putting the Laserdisc player in the Firefox. That is my plan if I get that back. And then I'll have the Dexter for the shelf. That's my plan, okay? I like the old technology. It's a challenge, isn't it? I mean, why not just maim everything down here? I don't know. I mean, the Dexter is a godsend. Don't get me wrong. It's a quick and easy option. It's a great piece of technology. It works amazing. It's relatively cost-effective compared to hunting down one-of-a-kind Laserdisc players. I agree with you. So... But I consider that as an option, just like having a serviced Philips by a guy who is a Laserdisc player god who worked on them in the 70s. So I kind of put that high up on a pedestal. So anyway, going on. He talks about Brofest. This email actually was sent a few weeks ago when Brofest was happening. He said he wanted to know how Brofest was going, and next year will there be a Brofest 3? I don't know. We'll see. He went there in 2007. That's 10 years ago. So I don't know what's going to happen next year. Stay tuned. He also says, any plans on visiting TNT Amusements this year, dude? Todd Tuckey is selling his cabaret collection. And I know you're looking for a Donkey Kong cabaret, and he has it, or did someone else buy it? He also has his Space Invaders trim line. When was the last time you talked to him? Steven from Ireland. I haven't talked to Todd probably since last year. I did talk to Todd on the phone, and I was going to go down there, and I just never found the time. It's a big trip for me, and I'm not opposed to doing it, and maybe I could start the dialogue again with Todd, because it would be fun, and it looks like he's got quite the collection of stuff going on there, and I'd like to visit this place. It could be fun, so stay tuned. I need to find the time. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on here the rest of the summer, so we'll see. Maybe we do it in the fall or something. I'm not opposed to it, though. I'll open the dialogue up again with Todd, maybe. All right, going on. This one's from Fred. Dear John, as if you don't have enough projects already, you should really look at building yourself a virtual pinball cabinet. Now, hear me out. I know 2D pinball on a screen sounds lame, but this project has so many cool aspects related to it. Woodworking, electrical, artwork, scripting, real DMD output and direct output framework, DOF, which adds solenoids, relays, flashers, and strobes for the tactile visual feedback. Big LCDs are so cheap right now. Now is the time! So, he goes on, if you build it full size, you can use a real pinball parts, and if you don't want to bother with woodworking, you can order a cabinet kit from virtualpin.net or just use a gutted cabinet. The end product is gorgeous, and you can pretty accurately play any number of virtual pinball recreations from Pinball Arcade, Future Pinball, Pinball FX2, and Visual Pinball, Visual Pin MAME. And there's new tables being released every day, plus many of those tables are completely original that you'll never see in real life. They really are fun. Anyways, give it a thought. Look up a few of the videos of a full cabinet setup with DOF and tell me you're not impressed. It'll look badass in the basement, that's for sure. Signed, Namco51, aka Fred. I don't know. I like the idea of this project. I agree with you. It sounds like a fun project, okay? But then I start thinking about it. Where do I put the thing? Because I'm going to have 3 pinball machines here. 3 pinball machines that I'm going to love, I believe, okay? I already love NBA Fast Break. I'm never going to get rid of that for the foreseeable future. Revenge from Mars is a favorite of mine that you cannot recreate any other way but right there, okay? And then we're gonna have the Ghostbusters pin soon. And when I say soon, it might be this weekend. I don't know, guys. You guys want a Ghostbusters update? Do you? All right, here's the Ghostbusters update. I got a refund. I had that pre-order in, and I did not have a date. Okay, there was no date given to me. It was very open-ended. So I asked for a refund after I found out I could get the game today from another local distributor, okay? And I said, why am I waiting? This is just silly, because I can go down the street and get one right now, okay? So I canceled my pre-order, and I'm waiting for my check. And I did place a deposit, a very small deposit, on a Pro at another distributor. I'm supposed to pick it up within the next week here, assuming the refund check comes in the next day or so, okay? So if all goes as planned, the next video might be a Ghostbusters unboxing. Now, I can't promise that, but it's possible. So cross your fingers that it all works out and I get the pinball machine within the next 2 days. It's very possible. So moving on, going back to this virtual pinball thing, I don't know about this. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know, because I have a lot of projects on the horizon that I want to work on. Can I fit this in? Is this a money pit? I don't know. It sounds expensive, doesn't it? To buy all this stuff? What's it going to cost? I don't know. All right, Namco, I'm not saying no to it. I'll take it into consideration. I think it would be a fun project. I agree with you. I think it'd even be fun to build the cabinet, you know, and to get the computer and all that stuff. All right, I'll consider it. I will consider it. And if I did do it, I would have to do it right. It had to be full size. 2 LCDs, a DMD, all that jazz. But you know what? Every time I see images of these games, the images are all stretched, and I'm very sensitive to stretched images. I don't like it. And I see people with these virtual cabinets, and the back glass on the LCD screen is all stretched out. You know, Arnold's face on Terminator is all squished or stretched, and I don't know. It looks a little Bush League or hokey. I don't know. So if we did it, we'd have to do it right. So let me think about it. So, all right, guys, that's it. This has been a long viewer mail segment. So anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you very soon. If you've never subscribed, please subscribe. I do want to tell you again, if you guys go to iankellogg.com, if you guys want to purchase John's Arcade branded parts kits and cap kits, that's right, guys. Everything you need to fix this game, use coupon code John's Arcade and enjoy 5% off your entire order. Go to iankellogg.com. And by the way, Ian Kellogg's an engineer. And he builds these kits, and him and I are partnering, okay? So if you buy these kits, you are supporting John's Arcade. And yes, they're John's Arcade branded kits made with the finest components. And I'm not kidding around. These are high hour caps, okay? These caps are gonna last a lifetime, and they're not like, you know, surplus stock, which a lot of the cap kit guys are using. This is brand new high quality stuff. iankellogg.com. Take 5% off your entire order at checkout using coupon code John's Arcade. Anyway, that's it, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you never have. I release new videos on Sundays and sometimes in between. And of course, check out my podcast, Video Game Outsiders at videogameoutsiders.com, Arcade Outsiders at arcadeoutsiders.com, and You Suck Show at yousuckshow.com. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you very soon. Later, and bye.